Well, it's 10 o'clock and time to start our annual general meeting. Welcome everybody. I'm Richard Crompton. I'm the chairman here at University Hospitals Plymouth. Well, I'm chairman for until about midnight on Sunday of this weekend, because actually today is my last official day. My last duties as chairman are today after 10 wonderful years. So a bit of an emotional moment for me, but a wonderful way really to end those 10 years. And I know during this morning's meeting, we'll have an opportunity not just to look back at the past 12 months, but also maybe to look back over the last 10 years as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm particularly pleased not just to welcome all of our guests who are joining us, members of the public and members of staff who are either watching now or indeed who may be able to catch up later on. But everybody who's going to present today, and I'm particularly pleased to see, and I think this just reflects the way health and social care is moving, and rightly so. I'm particularly pleased to see so many partners represented on our agenda today. We have our patient council, we have a view from Healthwatch, we have volunteers, carers, staff network representative, and some of our main partners, Livewell South West and Plymouth Marjon. So I think that really says something about the way we at University Hospitals Plymouth, and indeed the whole system, have moved and developed, particularly over the last 3 years. So just before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. I don't believe we have apologies from anybody this morning, and it just remains for me to look at the minutes of our previous meeting of a year ago. Now, it would be unusual, I think, under these circumstances, for there to be any items raised in relation to the minutes, but just in case, I'm going to give everybody the chance. Those of you who were here last year, I think we have, 7 pages of minutes. Any items of accuracy or any points that anybody would like to raise? If you have, please raise your hand. Okay, I thought not. So we'll take those as an accurate record of our meeting, and we'll move on with the agenda proper. And as an annual general meeting, we have a duty to take you through our audited accounts for the past year. So I'm delighted to introduce and welcome our Director of Finance, Sarah Brampton. Sarah, over to you.
Morning everybody, and welcome to the AGM. So as Richard said, it's my job today to present the financial report of 21-22, and I'm hoping that some slides are going to pop up. There they are. Great. Okay, so 21-22 was a year of resilience, responsiveness and restoration as we still continued to battle with the COVID pandemic and restore our services to pre-pandemic levels. If we go to the next slide, please. So the Trust finances continue to be dominated by the COVID pandemic. The interim COVID-19 financial arrangements remained in place. Elective recovery funds were introduced, and the Trust entered into an integrated care partnership with Livewell South West from the 1st of July. In terms of our revenue, we continued to receive block contracts from our commissioners, but we also received top-ups from NHS England to help cover our underlying deficit and additional funding to support the costs of the COVID response. We also had access to additional funds for elective services restoration. And then in terms of capital, we received additional funding to support that elective recovery, including digital transformation, diagnostics, and the ongoing support of our future hospital programme. So next slide, please. So in terms of the headlines of our finances for last year, we received 815 million in income. We spent just under 809 million in costs, giving us a margin of just under £8 million. Within this, we achieved cost improvement plans of £7 million and delivered our largest ever capital programme of £55.5 million. We go to the next slide, please. That gives you just a few of the items of that 55 million that we spent last year. So you can see in there, we continued to do our preparation work for our future hospital programme. We replaced vital medical equipment. We expanded and restored our elective capacity. We implemented IT digital programmes, and we purchased a Northwest Quadrant for future development. So next slide, please. So we have 4 statutory financial duties and targets to achieve within our accounts each year. So if I can just run through these. The first target is to achieve a control total set for us by NHS England, and last year it was a surplus of 2 million was our target. We exceeded this and achieved a surplus of 7.8 million. Our second target was to operate within a cash flow external financing limit of 4.6 million, and we hit this exactly. Our third target was to operate within a capital resource limit of 55.5 million, and we hit this exactly. And finally, we have a duty to pay our invoices on time and within 30 days, and I'm pleased to say that we also hit this. So all 4 statutory duties and targets were met, a really pleasing position to be in. Next slide, please. So our external auditors are Grant Thornton, and as per last year, they've issued us with a qualified opinion because they weren't able to physically attend the site to do their stock take due to the COVID restrictions. But except for this matter, the auditors found that the trust accounts were a true and fair view of the trust's financial position, and we received a really positive value for money assessment showing the improvements that the trust has made over the past 12 months. Further details of our audit opinion and the VFM report can be found on our annual report on the website. So looking forward to this financial year, the COVID funding arrangements have now stopped, and we're moving back to system allocations based on population needs. The Trust has submitted a balanced plan for the year, but there will be significant challenges in delivering this. Not only will we need to deliver cost improvement plans of circa 4%, but we also need to clear our backlogs, deal with the increase in inflationary pressures, navigate our way through a very tight capital programme, and make sure all the time we are balancing financial performance alongside activity performance. I do have huge optimism though. It's a number of things to look forward to. Our partnership for Live Well is really bedding in, and we're beginning to see some real green shoots with that working relationship. The new hospital programme ploughs ahead, and we're hoping that the enabling work will begin in the autumn of this year. The new Royal Eye Infirmary opens in December, and we hope to be able to open further additional modular orthopaedic capacity on site later in this financial year. So if I can just take a few moments now to look back over the last 10 years of our chairman's tenure. If we can go to the next slide, please. And Richard, I thought you'd like a few statistics to take away with you. So over your tenureship, Richard, this organisation has delivered over 650,000 elective operations, over 550,000 emergency admissions have taken place. Over 1 million emergency department attendances over the last 10 years have happened, and over 5 million outpatient appointments have happened. The organisation has delivered something like 168 million cost improvement plans, and we have delivered a whopping 360 million of capital programmes that have improved the services that we can deliver for our patients. So the next slide just shows a few of those amazing projects that under your leadership, Richard, this organisation has been able to take forward. And on behalf of all of us and the executive team, Richard, I want to thank you for your leadership. And I'm going to hand back to Anne. Thank you.
Sarah, thank you very much. Really great update and report on the finances. So welcome to the AGM. My name is Anne James. I'm Chief Executive. And the theme for this year's annual general meeting is Emerging Stronger, which is both a look back over the last year, but also over the last 10 years. And this is not just in recognition of the tremendous contribution that our outgoing chairman, Richard Crompton, has made, but is to also set that very, very strong foundation and hopeful future as we welcome in our new chair, James Brent, and a really exciting agenda, I hope, for the next 10 years and beyond. So today we'll hear from some of our partners about last year and, really importantly, about how we all work together as #OneBigTeam. And that is really, really important to us here at Derriford. And by working together, we bring contribution, perspective, difference, compassion, and absolute, unequivocal commitment to make a difference to the people that we serve, whether they are our local communities, the patients, and our colleagues right across health and social care. And we do that through positive action. As we've emerged stronger, and it's been a bit of a tough time, hasn't it, over the last couple of years, we really focus and will continue to focus on delivering compassionate, value-based care for anybody who needs it, delivering high quality services in an integrated way and timely, which is quite challenging at the moment, and very much making the very best use of all of the range of skills and contributions that we know we have from our fantastic colleagues. And we're now, despite that challenging backdrop, I feel making real, incredible improvements. And we've seen this through our CQC ratings. We've seen this through the fantastic partnership that we've been able to establish with LiveWell. And what's really gaining momentum is our People First programme, where all of our colleagues across the Trust and in partnership are working on improvements, things that matter to them, things that matter to the people that they're caring for, right at the front delivery of services. And again, this was, excuse me, recognised in the CQC reports. And today you'll hear a little bit about our partnership with our fantastic universities. Really delighted Marjans are with us today. And this is about how we value our staff. This is about how we work together with our partners around training, ongoing development, innovation, and together how we can make a really important difference into our city and build a prosperous city so everyone can benefit. And that alone will make the greatest difference to issues of deprivation and health inequalities, which I know we're really, really focused on. So as we start to move forward, our focus is, as always, about people. It's always about the people. And our people plan sets out a very clear ambition for investment in our staff, both in terms of recruitment, retention, understanding the challenges that they're facing and how we can work with them. Staff, colleagues and patients, they're the absolute heartbeat of what we do. And in support of that, I'm really excited about the possibilities that we're now bringing to fruition around new hospitals, making the most of digital and really developing our services. But without good people, then they are just buildings. And we know that we've got so much more than that at Derriford. And together we're really wanting to build sustainable, effective and accessible services. And as always, I like to take a moment to prepare for AGMs and just think about what we've been through. And normally it's the sort of last year, but today's a very special occasion. So we've looked back over the last 10 years. And it's only when you do stop and look back and take a pause for a moment that you realise just how far we've come. So I'd now like to invite you to just take a pause, settle back into your chair and watch this lovely video that we've pulled together.
I've only been here for about 5 months, but during that time I've learnt a huge amount about the work that is done here and a little bit about the work that is done by the wider National Health Service.
Hello, I'm Anne James, Chief Executive of the Trust,
I think if we all have our common goal to really support our patients, then we can achieve a great outcome for them.
Well, because I didn't know any different, I suppose it was all right, but it was a bit dingy. It was dingy. I mean, this is fantastic now, isn't it? So bright. It really is lovely here.
When assessing a patient with viral hemorrhagic fever.
Mask, waterproof gown, double gloves.
So yeah, I always knew really that was the first baby born. And I kind of used it as like a badge of honour really in school and stuff, by letting everyone know that I had some kind of cool thing about me.
Been awarded
£30 million to build a brand new department for urgent and emergency care. So.
And the bereavement bags that was born out of a personal experience of collecting my mum's belongings.
Now, next on the programme, patients with a rare form of cancer are living longer thanks to a specialist clinic at Derriford Hospital.
Around 500 patients a year are diagnosed with mantle cell lymphoma in the UK, and many travel to Plymouth to access the groundbreaking treatment.
A clinical trial was offered to Margaret by Derriford Hospital. She says it saved her life.
Thank you, Chairman.
Fantastic organisation with brilliant people. What would you like to say on the birthday?
Well, this being the 70th anniversary and birthday of the NHS, we just want to say a really big thank you. I want to applaud all the people who've worked in the NHS for the last 70 years. Today we'll be celebrating all of our staff, volunteers, colleagues in social services and across the NHS today. And let's really look forward to our new colleagues that will take forward the NHS for what I hope will be another fantastic 70 years.
I'm very pleased to declare that Keep Me Close open.
So I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on where we are in terms of our response to COVID, and perhaps give a little bit of an explanation of some of the measures that we have in place.
Who looked after Ian and cared for him so diligently. You are all heroes and deserve the total respect of the nation. That was you. You did that. You made that special moment. You did a really good job.
But I'm just so pleased to be who I am now and to get home to see everybody.
We are going to be receiving samples from all over the country, and samples will arrive here, and they'll be tested through our lab for positive and negative COVID tests.
363,549 vaccinations have been delivered at Home Park alone.
I'm James, I'm one of the physios up on healthcare for the elderly at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to the ICP. It's going to improve our relationships and our effectiveness of working with our community colleagues.
I think any reflection on the last few years has to incorporate the response to COVID, and that has to be the public and professional response within the NHS.
Handing out masks on the front door. Used to start at 6:30 in the morning and we'd finish at 9. It was meant to last for 6 weeks, and a group of us did it through for 9 months. And we really felt a part of the hospital team, keeping everybody safe.
Worked under an honorary contract in ICU during the pandemic, and certainly saw how many skills were needed to get through the difficult times. Lots of teamwork, and then partway through I joined the tissue viability team, where that teamwork continued. Some of the team were redeployed, which was a struggle, but we did all pull together to work in the right direction, and I think everyone supported each other in such an amazing way.
The way our colleagues dealt with such a huge change to our service, when our service absolutely couldn't change, babies still need to be born.
Is being part of a team that throughout COVID has pulled together to provide a flawless service.
Working here is like being part of a big family, and every day is completely different.
Across acute paediatrics, it's an absolutely brilliant workforce, and a great service for our local communities and actually some regional families as well. And I hope for them that they have the investment that they deserve to continue to take that service forward.
I'm really excited to see our relationships develop with our training facilities, our universities.
There's also the extension going on for the building, and I think that's going to offer us new opportunities to work with other teams and make a difference.
I'd love to think that 10 years from now that the bookshop was still thriving, and that the hospital continues to thrive as well.
Well, what an absolutely fantastic video, a real tour de force, and some fantastic, lovely memories in those clips. So a huge thank you to the team for developing that really fabulous work. So it's my great pleasure now to hand over for a view from our patient council, and a warm welcome to Jim Griffiths.
Thank you very much, Anne, and thanks for that, as you say, superb video. It was brilliant. Now, my name is Jim Griffiths, and I'm the present chair of the Patient Council here at the Trust. In September 2013, the then chair of the Patient Experience Committee, Vera Mitchell, set the Trust board the following challenge. Please align your emotions, your heart, and your commitment to patients with your statutory duties to enable this strategy to transform printed words into a dynamic living experience, which truly brings healing to our patients. This evocative statement led to the establishment of the Patient Council, whose remit is to provide the Trust with the voice of the patient. The original idea was that the Patient Council would be a body and mechanism involving patients, carers, and the public to assist in shaping strategies and new initiatives. Thus, the main purpose of the Patient Council was and remains to support the Trust by recommending improvements to the quality of services to enhance the patient experience. In essence, the Patient Council acts as a critical friend to the Trust. Moving to the period 2017 to 2022, we can look at some of the successes we have had in meeting the original challenges set by the Patient Council, a Patient Experience Committee. The big change is that we now see that on the majority of new initiatives in the Trust, it's accepted that the patient voice has a place, although not yet always at the conceptual stage of projects. We've had real success in supporting particular developments, notably in the recognition of the role of carers and the provision of Admiral nurses. My colleague on the Patient Council, Amanda Wilton, will be describing these in more detail a little later. You will see representatives of the Patient Council on staff networks such as Dawn, and on the project boards for the ED redevelopment and the creation of the Wellbeing Garden. In addition, the members of the Patient Council are all volunteers who provide general support for the Trust in areas such as ED, the discharge lounge and meet and greet. Okay, the next slide, please. Now, we believe the Patient Council has been reasonably successful over the past 5 years, thanks to the hard work of its members, the support provided by professional staff in the Trust, and the endorsement of its activities by Richard as chair and Anne. However, when we recently reviewed the original remit, we could see that we still had a long way to go. Therefore, some of the key areas we wish to address over the next 5 years are sort of put up here. We need to find ways of collecting and representing the views of the whole patient body, and not just the 6 members who make up the present Patient Council. We can achieve this in a number of ways, but we have 2 initiatives at the moment. Firstly, we're going to increase membership and diversity of the Patient Council. And secondly, we need to find mechanisms for collecting information from a wider public. Initially, we hope to achieve this through the existing 300 plus sort of volunteer group that we have here at the hospital. We need to ensure that the whole Trust recognises the critical importance of engaging patients and carers in developing and improving the quality of care. The more a patient is involved and understands both their own treatment and the issues facing the Trust, the better the health provision will be. To achieve this level of engagement, we need to implement the Trust Engagement and Involvement Toolkit, published earlier this year and compiled by Amanda, Claire, and with the help of Fern. This document brings together all the aims and ambitions of the Patient Council for the next 5 years. Whilst our first 2 aims are sort of very broad brush, we do have a number of specific targets, and that is exemplified by our involvement with the difficult transition for our younger patients as they move from paediatric to adult care. From anecdotal feedback we have received, this is an important area to investigate further, and it will be led by the youngest member of our Patient Council. So that's sort of my very, very quick summary of the Patient Council. And can I add my thanks to the Chairman of the Board, Richard, for his enthusiastic support for all our work. And I thank you for your time. I'll now hand over to Tony of Healthwatch.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tony Gravitt. I'm the manager of Healthwatch Plymouth, and I want to give a view of Healthwatch's involvement since 1st of April 2013, when the service was set up as a statutory requirement under the 2012 Health and Social Care Act. Working with the staff at Derriford over that period, we've been able to actually work on some programs that makes the patient experience of the hospital and all the services it provides better from a patient point of view. And I think one thing I would say before I list those is I've always found the staff at the Trust very amenable to talking about the patient experience and how that can be embedded into services. So the work we have done over the last few years prior to COVID was to look at surgical assessment unit, and then particularly the waiting area for people turning up, the dialysis unit and the operations that went on in there. We've been involved year on year with the patient-led assessment of the care environment, an NHS programme, to look at conditions and cleanliness, dementia, disability access, and even the food. We've worked with the Trust prior to COVID on discharge pathways, and we have also been asked for views on all the improvement work that's gone over in that time. And I think for me, the biggest achievement, and the one that we really welcomed and supported, is your CQC performance rating of outstanding for caring, which you've managed to maintain over some very difficult circumstances. So whether we're dealing with clinical staff or non-clinical staff, I've always felt confident that the patient voice will be heard and will be incorporated, and we can have some really crucial discussions on how that comes about, in confidence that the right solution will be found. I think your patient experience team are absolutely amazing. They're our main link into the hospital. So I would like to pay tribute to those, both within the PAL side, but also at this time to Fern and to Claire, but equally before that to Jane and to Ben. And I think our relationship has really, really been good with those teams. I've welcomed the opportunity to have conversations with Anne, and I hope that we can reinvigorate those moving forward. For me, the challenges now come as we come out of the pandemic, and I think with the new integrated care system standing up across Devon and the role of not only the trust within that, but all other aspects of health and social care, it's very pleasing to see that the patient is at the heart of that whole strategy, which gives some confidence moving forward. It's also really good to see all the investment that's being put into Derriford, whether that's the new REI footprint, the plans for elective surgery moving forward, or more importantly, the rebuild of the emergency department so it can fully support the roles that it needs to play, not only locally, but as a regional trauma centre. Finally, I would like to thank Richard for all the work that he's done at the Trust. And whilst Healthwatch hasn't had much direct involvement with Richard, it's very obvious that he's a man of drive and consideration, and the programmes that have been driven through under his and Anne's leadership should be applauded. And finally, I would like to thank all staff at Derriford for the amazing work that they have done and they continue to do. That's a very short, quick run through from me, but I would like to now hand over to Becky Smith and Maggie Pugh for a view from the volunteers.
Hi, my name's Maggie, and I've been a volunteer, and it's been my honour to be a volunteer at Derriford Outpatients for the last 17.5 years. My previous employment was a GP receptionist, so I felt the roles were very similar, with patients coming and going 10 minutes or so apart. And it's been an interesting and varied role. I travel 40-mile round trip to do my shift, and I'm really happy to do that because I get a lot of reward from it. I've made fabulous friends from my colleagues, and the patients are interesting and diverse. It keeps me young, it keeps me fit, mentally and physically. And part of the work that I do is to check patients that are in the correct area when they arrive. If they aren't, then I'm happy to escort them to different areas in the hospital. But I also check them in for their appointments on the electronic booking system. A lot of people are not very happy to use electronic equipment, so I'm happy to do that. It's a busy area. I make sure there are sample pots there for them, and I top them up from the sluice area. Over the last few years, since COVID, it's incorporated a pre-op area. The bloods are taken, the stoma care, the chest clinic. So it is extremely busy and very, very interesting. I have found in recent years that some of the patients are a little bit less tolerant. They're not happy with change, so they're still not happy wearing face masks and having to, they want to cut through clinic areas to get to the main hospital. But then you have to remember that they're not well, that they're possibly in pain. So I try to be kind and gentle and do exactly what I can to help them. Yeah, really, there isn't much else I can say. Just to remind myself that I'm happy to be there. I find it difficult because I'm compassionate that I can't actually comfort a patient anymore. sometimes just a little pat on the shoulder and a few kind words can go a long way when they're very distressed. And over the years, I've had some very interesting moments that, yeah, I won't go into because they haven't always been clean. They've been rather messy, but that's all part and parcel of it. And I really enjoy it. And I want to thank everyone that supported me as a volunteer. Elizabeth has been amazing, and all my colleagues. Over the next 10 years or so that I hope to carry on with my volunteer role. And I would like to think that the patient waiting times for surgery and consultations will improve. And also the car parking area, because patients come in very stressed with a high raised blood pressure because they can't park. But then that's easy to diffuse. And I just say, look, you're here now, take a seat and just relax. And that just helps, I think. They reward a smile with a smile, actually. And so that's really all I have to say is there's no greater reward at the end of the day when a patient leaves and says, thank you very much for all your help. And it is my honour to have done this for so long, and I hope to continue. And thank you, Becky. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. And thank you to all of our volunteers. So I'm Becky, I'm the Volunteer Services Manager, and you know, it's great to hear some of those stories, isn't it, from our volunteers who are greeting the patients. We have volunteers in the emergency department, the discharge lounge, outpatients, now in children's theatres as well, dementia support volunteers, rehabilitation volunteers. In fact, we've got volunteers in 46 different roles at the moment, including Hospital Radio and the League of Friends as well. And they're averaging around 1,750 hours that they give to us every month. So it's really great that we can start to collect this data so that we can see really the impact that they're having. We have 350 volunteers. Collectively, they've given 975 years of service. We did a count in June when we celebrated Volunteers Week. So, you know, we are redeveloping the service following COVID when everybody was stood down. We saw in the video that Sarah mentioned about handing out masks at 6:30 in the morning. Lots of those volunteers have carried on in the meet and greet role in particular. So it's a really great opportunity to develop those new roles, having brought everybody back and then some. There's been a huge amount of recruitment as well. So as we work to rebuild and grow the service post-COVID, we've got our volunteer strategy, which takes us to 2025, and we're ensuring that the volunteers have a great experience while they're here. We want to make sure that departments and wards are supported effectively and reliably as well, whilst making sure that the volunteers have got access to great opportunities, career pathways, and also just to support the hospital. We did a volunteer survey in January, and the overwhelming reason why they're here is that they just want to help, and we really think that they're doing that fantastically. So here's to the next 10 years as well. Thank you to all of the volunteers who've given their time over the last 10 years too, and more. I think our longest standing volunteer has been here for 45 years. So yes, thank you for the opportunity to talk about our volunteers and to all the staff who support them, welcome them, say thank you to them. So I'm handing over to Claire Dukes, who's going to be talking about carers.
Hello everybody, my name's Claire Dukes and I'm Patient Services Manager here at the Trust. I've had the privilege of working with Richard since he started at the Trust 10 years ago. Richard, you've been an inspirational leader and someone who I've really looked up to and respected. Thank you for the support you've given to all of the staff here at UHP. We will really miss you. I'm now going to hand over to introduce Amanda Wilton, who's from our Patient Council. Amanda unfortunately couldn't be here today, but she's kindly prepared a video to provide an update to you all on the carers work that she's been supporting me and the Trust with over the last year or so. Amanda is an advocate for all of our carers, which you'll now see in her video.
Hello, my name's Amanda Wilton and I'm a member of the Patient Council in Derriford Hospital. I joined in 2018 and I represent carers and people with a learning disability. I am a carer for my daughter who's 28. She has profound and multiple learning disabilities. Recently at the Patient Council AGM, Richard Crompton recalled one of my first Patient Council meetings. When I said I wasn't sure what was expected of me, he said he thinks I've come a long way and found my purpose. I attend several meetings within Derriford, including the Dementia Steering Group, the Equality, Diversity and Inclusivity Group, the Disability and Wellness Network Group. I also attend the Carers Partnership Board meetings in Cornwall and Plymouth, and the Learning Disability Partnership Board in Cornwall. I think my most memorable things achieved for carers at Derriford since 2018 are my involvement in updating the carers policy. We were able to increase the value of the meal vouchers for carers. We also went around the wards with the tea trolley, asking staff if they knew about the carers policy and if they knew what was contained within it. We had a mixed response, but we were able to give out information and point them where to find it on the staff intranet. Updating the carers questionnaire survey was also very interesting. We were trying to reduce down the vast amount of questions within it. We did manage a few. Also helping to launch and put together the new carers information packs, which are available on all wards. Pre-pandemic, Claire Dukes and I went to the New Continental Hotel to an event put on by Caring for Carers. We were able to speak with carers about the new carers packs and give out many of them. We also gave out lots of information to carers about the support and help they could expect in hospital. We also went around the wards with the tea trolley trying to identify hidden carers and tell them what they could expect from the hospital in line of support. Also, we gave them information packs, the carers information packs to them, and also referred people to Caring for Carers in Plymouth and the Cornwall Carers Service. We identified many carers. So the biggest achievement, I think, has to be the recruitment of 2 Admiral nurses roles to the integrated discharge team. This initiative was set in motion from a question I put to the hospital last year. I asked if Derriford had an Admiral nurse, and if not, could they get one? So from that, we asked the Admiral nurse from RCHT, Caroline Ellis, to come along to a patient council meeting to share with us the scope of the role. She attended with Rachel from Dementia UK. So we had a big discussion and they gave us lots of information about it. From there, the patient experience team were instrumental in getting it off the ground and with the hospital and trust and acting as a liaison between the trust and Dementia UK. So the roles will focus on supporting people with dementia and complex needs and their carers and families when they're discharged from hospital to care homes in Western Devon and Plymouth, which I'm sure will be so helpful to them. So looking to the future, I would like to see carers training made mandatory at Derriford for all staff from the bottom to the top. And also the provision of carers beds, like the ones on the paediatric wards for carers if they stay in hospital with their loved one, which would promote the carers' health and well-being. Also, I'd like to see our continued partnership with the Carers Partnership Boards in Plymouth and Cornwall. So it's been a busy few years and I'm hopeful for the future, but I would like to thank Richard for all the support he's given us over the years. He's been very approachable and I would like to wish him the best of luck for the future.
Thank you, Amanda. And I think you'll all agree that the work that's been done around carers has been fantastic, particularly for me and how Amanda's supported me and really challenged and pushed that agenda forward. So I'm delighted now to be able to hand over to Kian and TK, who are going to talk about our staff networks.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having us here on this platform. I would firstly like to say thank you to our past chairs. So we have Kerry Dongai, who was the chair of the Women's Network. We have Sarah, who was the chair of the Dawn Network, as well as Rez Rogers, who was the chair of the BAME Network. I would like to say thank you to all of these ladies for all the support and everything that they have accomplished during their tenure. As we move on, I would like to show you all some slides on what we have accomplished, what we are aiming to accomplish, and what the future looks like for staff networks within UHB. Next slide, please. So as we all know, after the George Floyd incident in America, at UHB, some 5 staff networks were created. And many of you may not have known these staff networks were always in the background to be created. However, George Floyd's incident as well as COVID pivoted it into a faster perspective. So at UHB, we developed the BAME network, the DAWN network, the FAB network, LGBT, women, and also we have a men conversation. Next slide. Our achievements to date as a staff network group, we have all attended a Respect Festival because we are true believers that in order to understand the community we serve, we need to engage within our local community. So the Respect Festival was held by the Plymouth and Devon Racial Equality Council, who is one of our allies that we work along with. We also celebrated our EDI HR week, which was inclusive of all staff networks sitting together and listening to the challenges that our staff protected groups have been experiencing within UHB. We also celebrated awareness such as the Stephen Lawrence Day. We had our Staff Networks Day, Pride Month, Ramadan, Deaf Awareness Week, as well as our very successful campaign, Tick the Box, that was run by the DAWN Network. All staff networks have had training done where we train managers on how to deal with racism within the workplace. We also train staff on how to deal with racism within the workplace, and many other training sessions that are ongoing as we speak. Next slide, please. What is next for the staff network groups? We are very keen in promoting the networks further and engaging within our local community. We will be working with local organizations, for example, the Police Service. We will be rebranding the BAME network and joining the See Me First campaigns in which other NHS trusts have been partaking. And also we are very keen to be part of creating induction resources so that we will be able to deal with challenges before they arise at the inception process of recruitment. Next slide, please. Thank you all for listening. And this list is not a full list of what we are doing as staff networks, but I must say all of these things will not be possible without the support of our executive champions. And most importantly, yourself, Richard. You have always been there for us. You always had a listening ear. You always gave great advice. But most importantly, you kept your word and you ensured that our executive team and yourself made sure that our actions and our words were always in sync. Thank you very much. I will pass on now to my co-chair, TK.
So I thank Richard for supporting us for the last 10 years. And I also congratulate James Brent to take up the new chair. And there's so many advances happened during this last 10 years. But one of the important things for us is the establishment of various staff networks. And these networks are important for staff to lean on and get advanced help to these who have concerns. These networks will definitely attract more staff to the University Hospitals of Plymouth. And I thank everyone who is supporting the network and thank Richard for this tenure. Thank you. Back to Kian.
So I will now pass you all on to Michelle Thomas, who is our Live West partner. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for inviting me to speak at your annual general meeting. It's a bit reminiscent when we all pop up on the screen of the Eurovision Song Contest voting arrangements, I think. However, for people who don't know me, I'm Michelle Thomas and I'm the Chief Executive of Live Well Southwest, which is a community interest company providing community services, mental health services and social care across Plymouth and beyond. So I've been asked to reflect on the last decade at UHP from a Live Well South West perspective. And that's quite difficult, and especially following that beautiful video that Anne shared, to really think about the details of what has happened. But I do think it's important to really think about how our two organisations have really come together and changed over the last decade. We haven't always worked in the same way as we are now. I think as two organisations, we worked alongside each other, but maybe not with each other. And so therefore things were not always done in the most joined up way. We, if you looked at how we worked on solutions, we might work on solutions to problems in our own organisations. But that's history and that's what happened. Our staff have always tried to work together. So despite what was happening perhaps at a more senior level, our staff have always tried to focus on making the best for people from the services we all provide. But we did, one area where we worked well together and always came together is in a crisis. We were amazing in a crisis, all of us. And certainly the health and social care system, the crisis could be anything. It could be winter, summer, an exploded Second World War, bombs, major incidents. But we really did demonstrate how the two organisations and beyond could work together. So when the opportunity came to actually really think about how we could be far more integrated and to bid for the contract that Live Well Southwest had for a long time, but we could do something really, really different and innovative. We had that opportunity. And I remember really clearly one of the first times as a board to board we met, that actually one side of one organisation's board sat down one side of a room and Live Well down the other side. But that all seems history now and in the distant past. It wasn't long, and in subsequent meetings that we were all there working together and talking together as one big team. The bid writing and the contract award felt like the longest in history, because we had that small thing called COVID pop up in the middle that meant lots of the work that we were trying to do together was very, very stop-start. And I feel that I need to say that even during COVID, how well our organisations and our teams worked together for the whole community. So really thinking about how we were discharging people, how we were working with the voluntary sector, care homes, how our infection control teams worked together, and the vaccination programme. And there were many, many, many more areas that we were working together and going forward. So, you know, I like to see a silver lining in everything. And I would say that COVID, the silver lining from COVID, is actually really strengthened the bond between our two organisations, and really thinking that we could be quite innovative and working together in lots of different ways. The contract award, as been alluded to, did happen, thank goodness. And at this point, I'd like to thank Joe Beer personally for working with me to actually get that over the line. So a big thank you. But I think it's important to recognise that when all of this was happening, there were also big changes to the NHS, and really thinking about how we could work together and differently in the future. But because I think we've now got this strong bond and ways of working, it puts UHP and Live Well and our partners in a really strong place. So to be part of the integrated care system, working with the integrated boards and the local care partnerships. So I think we're in a place that we would never have imagined, you know, just 10 years ago. And I think it's important to think of some key leads that have been around taking our partnership forward. So again, I'd like to thank Kevin Baber, Tracy Lee and David Brown for their leadership in supporting Live Well Southwest as well with our partnership working. So I think going forward, our partnership will mean that we are able to concentrate on our population's health, and it will help change our future and shape our future. So by working and caring for people in the communities where we can, only really using the hospital where we really need to do that, and also really thinking about prevention and how we support people to stay at home and lead an independent life as possible. So all good news and all really exciting. But before I finish, I just think I need to thank the whole of UHP board for helping to make all of the above happen. And I especially would like to thank Anne James personally for supporting me in my new role. This is a new role for me, and how we can jointly lead our partnership. And of course, because today is today, Richard Crompton must get a special mention because he's because he's now moving away from his chair role in UHP. But I think I need to acknowledge that Richard has always been kind, very calm, and a really supportive person to have around. So thank you, Richard. And I'm sure if you cut Richard in half like a stick of rock, which I'm not going to, Richard, you'd have UHP running all the way through. So good luck for what's happening into the future. But I would just say, look at the amazing difference that's happened in those 10 years between our two organisations. So thank you. So before I finish, I just think I ought to go back to that Eurovision bit. So Live Well Southwest 12 points, which is our top points, will have to go to Richard Crompton. Thank you. And I'm now handing over to the universities.
Hello, I'm Professor Rob Warner, Vice Chancellor at Plymouth Marjon University. Our Green Campus is your next door neighbour. Our archivist recently sent me an old photograph from 1973. Our buildings and the hospital were under construction at the same time. Perhaps there's a Derriford anniversary we can celebrate together in 2023. We're proud to have trained speech and language therapists for nearly 30 years. You've provided countless placement and training opportunities, and today several of your team were trained to degree level at Marjon. During peak COVID, we hosted a PCR test centre for many months, and during the first lockdown, some of your staff, to protect their own families, became resident on our campus. Last October, we awarded an honorary degree to Lenny Byrne on behalf of all at your hospital trust who gave so much for the public good in the peak COVID years. Over recent months, Health Education England asked us to speedily develop an induction programme for radiographers from the UAE. This has been much appreciated by HEE, with presentations about the process being requested for several English regions. We've now planned a similar programme for incoming Spanish podiatry recruits and are developing an on-site 2-week course for pharmacologists from Algeria. Obviously, importing staff is a stopgap, and the greater strategic priority is the urgent need to train far more people in the UK to work in the NHS and in social care. As to our future partnership, we want to create with you new ways of training nurses and allied health professionals to address the acute and increasing workforce shortages in the South West. Our current plan is to train 1,000 nursing and allied health professionals a year by 2025. But perhaps with your help, we can go further and faster. We were the first teacher training college in England back in the early 1840s, and some public figures at that time criticised the fact that our first cohort included some from the local workhouse. From then until now, we are determined to provide opportunities in higher education for all with the potential to succeed, no matter their background. And in the South West, that includes a large number of women who left full-time education early to become young mums. We want to work with you and other partners to develop imaginative new approaches to degree-level training that take account of their childcare responsibilities. We believe these women represent one key facet of the future NHS workforce in our city and region. As soon as the Plymouth Allied Health Building reverts to Marjon, it will become our integrated care and training centre. We want to develop partnership with you around our on-site clinics so that your medical staff and our students can work together to explore ongoing care and support for chronic conditions in a non-medical environment that promotes client agency in health management and recovery. We want to offer to you an inclusive North Plymouth University campus in which your staff can benefit from our nature trail, sport and cultural offer, and receive supervised treatment from our students training to be osteopaths and sport therapists, particularly for the common hazard for hospital staff of back pain and related injuries. We, you, Live Well, City College, the University of Plymouth and many others have a critical contribution to make in partnership together for health and well-being across our city and region. In sum, Richard, Anne and everyone at the Trust, your public service is hugely appreciated, particularly faced with the present context of ongoing COVID-related pressures, staff shortages and the critical backlog of patient care. Our partnership with you is a preeminent priority for Marjon. We are determined there is very much more we can do together in the coming decade to strengthen your work and to support the healthcare of all the people of Plymouth, Devon and Cornwall. Together, in partnership, we want to make the most transformative difference we possibly can. For all you have done, thank you. For all you will be doing, we applaud you already. And now I pass back to Anne James.
Rob, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's contributed today. A tremendous AGM, I think, that really gives us a sense of how we are emerging stronger. And I really like the way you've summed it up, Rob, because I think that really gives us a very confident sense that we are emerging stronger, that we're looking to the future with real ambition, hope, and a whole bundle of pride. And so I can't hand over to Richard without saying a personal thank you. You've steered us through the most incredible 10 years. You've truly set the ambition for the future with a compassionate, purposeful culture, which is really focused on making a difference. So a huge, huge thank you on behalf of all of us. It has been an incredible journey and thank you. So let me hand back to you, Richard, for the next item.
Right. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who's contributed to this morning's AGM. I do think it's been fantastic, and I'll have a few things to say in a moment. Before we get to that stage, though, I do have to stick to the agenda. I doubt there will be questions. We had no questions posted before the annual general meeting, but if there are any questions in relation to the annual report and accounts, please speak now. And Amanda, I don't think we've received anything on the public chat box during this morning. No?
No, Richard, no.
Okay, so we can move on then, just to a few closing remarks. Let's just go through sort of in order, I think, the people who've spoken this morning. Can I start with Sarah? Now, Sarah is someone who is a brilliant and inspirational director of finance, but she is also far more than that, and has a commitment and depth of understanding and works right across the operational areas of the hospital as well. And I've also had the pleasure on 2 occasions of speaking with her wider team. And Sarah, if I may, I'd just like to say, under your leadership and under Neil's leadership before you, I think what's become so clear to me is just how committed your staff are. Although they work in the back rooms, they're not working in clinical areas. They do it for one reason only, and that's for the sake of our patients. And I think I should say that in relation to all of our staff who aren't clinicians. They don't work in the clinical areas. They're rarely, if ever, seen by members of the public. They're not doing the glamorous jobs, but they do what they do for the sake of the patients that we are all here to serve. And I particularly enjoyed, Sarah, the look back over the past 10 years and the way things have changed, and the sheer volume of work that has been achieved over that period. If I may, I'll skip over Anne's presentation. I may come back to it at the end, though, and go to Jim from the Patient Council. Jim, again, thank you so much for everything that you've done, and all of the previous chairs and members of the Patient Council. Incredibly important part of the mix here at the hospital, and I have definitely seen massive developments in what you do over that 10-year period. And I love the ambition that you have for the future as well. Brilliant to work with all of you. Thank you very much for everything that you've done. Tony from Healthwatch, equally, really wise words. You were generous in your assessment of the hospital, and also, I think, spot on in terms of the opportunities for the future. And I know that Healthwatch will be an absolutely essential partner going forward into that future. Which takes us to the volunteers. Maggie, what an absolutely wonderful presentation you gave, and I think what you do and what you said epitomizes the spirit of this place, and certainly the spirit of the hundreds of volunteers that we have here. And I really do think that the volunteers are one of the foundation stones of this hospital. We simply could not do what we do here without your massive support. So thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Becky, for making that happen. And I know that volunteers will continue to be a tremendous and much loved asset in the years to come. And similarly, in relation to carers, Claire, thank you for your very, very kind words. And Amanda, of course, who, as she said, is also on the Patient Council. Amanda is truly an inspirational person, and I have seen her grow and develop really very quickly and incredibly impressively over the past few years. I sat down with Patients Council with Anne just a few months ago, heard about what they, and Amanda in particular, had been doing, and have plans for the future. Absolutely brilliant work. So Amanda, thank you for everything that you do. Kian and TK. Kian, I've known right since the beginning of the establishment of our staff networks. Another truly inspirational person, and I think, Kian, what you have achieved within the networks has been truly outstanding. You're a force of nature. Please continue to keep doing what you've been doing, but because you've got so much to give. Thank you both to you and to TK, and to all of the chairs and members of our staff networks. Michelle, it has been a long and interesting journey, but I think you're absolutely right. When you look at where we were 10 years ago and in our partnership, and look at what's happening now, there has been a tremendous amount of progress. We're in a great place now, but I think the best is yet to come. And I think under your leadership and with Karen as chair, we can look forward to a growing and deeper relationship and partnership with Live Well that can only be for the good of the patients that we serve and the communities that we serve. And then lastly, Rob, wonderful words from Rob Warner, setting out the importance of the relationships we have across ourselves and into Marjon, and the contribution that Marjon makes and has made to the community and to health within the community over many, many years. But I think also, Rob, your insight and your analysis of the future is again spot on. And again, I think there's tremendous potential yet to come within our relationship. So let's just go back to that earlier presentation that Anne introduced, and the lovely film, the lovely video that had been put together. It really was, I think, both for Anne and I, there were a few surprises in the video. It was lovely to see Anne 10 years ago, full of enthusiasm and full of energy. I think what I would like to say is that enthusiasm and that energy has changed over time. I didn't think it would be possible, but she is even more enthusiastic and even more full of energy and dedication to this place and the patients that we serve today than she has ever been. A remarkable chief executive, a remarkable woman, and I'm really, really proud to have had the opportunity to work alongside you. What came out from what you said and what came out from all of the presentations that we've heard, I think, is the importance of people. People, both our patients, our volunteers, all of our staff who work here, and all of the partners that we work with. It's been a remarkable 10 years. A bit of a roller coaster ride at times. I think what's come out today is the tremendous progress that we have all made over that period. And it is true to say, and Rob referred to it, that the immediate aftermath of the pandemic is severe. Everyone knows just how much stress and pressure the whole system is under at the moment, and goodness me, the whole country, the whole world faces some immense challenges at the moment. And we all know that the future is going to present us with some difficulties and many, many challenges. But I hope what has come across really well today is that the spirit of this place and its people and our partners is such that we will not only get through the difficult periods, we'll get through and create a much, much better future for our communities. There are tremendous opportunities across the whole system in Devon and the wider peninsula, with our partnership with Live Well and others within the city. There are tremendous opportunities for developing our people over the coming years, and we know we have really exciting prospects in terms of new buildings, new services, new facilities in the hospital in the very short future. All of that, the very near future, all of that, I think, paints a really bright picture for the future. I won't be part of it, but all of you will, and I wish all of you the very, very best of luck and great success as you negotiate your way into that future. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, everybody who's joined us for our AGM this morning. And there they all are. Cheerio, everybody. See you shortly. Bye-bye.